Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of New Mexico. This is now the second property within 2 weeks that we are listing just outside of Alamogordo in a sort of little suburb of Alamogordo. A nice residential area where, as you can see from the photos here, you've got a lot of home sites around it, and as you can tell both from the photo as well as the headline, power and underground utilities. So a lot of people living out here, very easy to live out here. Additionally, this is a really nice area because it sits not only in close proximity to Alamogordo, but also to some other towns, some other major sort of southern New Mexico landmarks. So I really like these residential lots. I like these particularly for anybody who's relocating to this region, either for retirement purposes, if you've been living in a cold climate all your life, or if you're being relocated here for work or for military service. If you serve at Holloman Air Force Base, you're being stationed there for a couple of years. This is an ideal property, particularly if you're looking to set up not necessarily maybe a permanent home that you build from scratch, but maybe just a mobile home, modular home, something like that you live in for 2 or 3 years and then move on. I think this is a nice property that's going to be really advantageous for a lot of you. Additionally, this one, while being a scooch smaller than the one that we listed last week, is markedly less expensive. So this may be able to be afforded by those of you who couldn't afford the first one. Anyway, with all that said, guys, let's get to the details. This is reference number OTNM-5773, located in Otero County, New Mexico, in the southern part of the state. This is 1.89 acres, just a scooch under 2 acres, and it is in the Sunset Acres subdivision. Now, as you saw up top here, guys, this 1.89 acres is priced at $12,000, which is actually a pretty good price for a lot, not only within the subdivision, but in general within this part of New Mexico. So let's pull this up on a map, guys, show you exactly where this is. As with all of our listings, we've got GPS coordinates down here, 4 corner points in the center. Click any one of them, any one, people, and ba-boom, up on Google Maps. It shall appear. So first off, for those of you who are not familiar with the basic geography of New Mexico, let's go to map view here. Let's pull back and talk about where this is within the state. So the major city of Las Cruces down here in New Mexico, roughly second or third most populous city within the state, is down here, of course, in the southern portion of New Mexico. It sits roughly about an hour and 15, hour and a half drive away from the subject property over here. Subject property, should be noted, is also roughly about 2 hours north of El Paso, just down here. It's sitting in Otero County, which is one of the larger sort of landmass counties within the state. Occupies a lot of land down here in the southern portion, with Texas just to its south. Of course, the major towns within Otero County are Cloudcroft, Tularosa, and Alamogordo. And this property, the subject property, sits pretty much equidistant to both Tularosa as well as Alamogordo. It's a scooch closer to Tularosa, roughly about a 3-minute drive into town here, roughly about a 10-minute drive into Alamogordo. That being said, both of these are easy to accomplish. You just take Highway 54, either north or south. It's an easy drive into both of them. Now, proximity to major towns is one thing as a selling point of this property, but I also like the fact that it sits really close to a lot of sort of just really nice things to explore within southern New Mexico itself. White Sands National Park, which is roughly about 15 minutes from the subject property, is, of course, the one that jumps out most easily at us. If you're not familiar with White Sands, you can get a little sense from the photo that's been brought up here on Google Maps. This is really one of the most iconic, one of the most photographed regions of New Mexico. It's where they have these white sand dunes, which are sort of an anomaly within the state or really within the U.S. You don't really find sand dunes like this elsewhere. So there's a major national park out here, very close to the subject property. Additionally, guys, if you're a hunter, you've got over 1 million acres of nearby Lincoln National Forest, just about 15 minutes east along the 82. Of course, out here you can hunt any number of creatures. I believe the most notable ones within this region are elk, mule deer, wild turkey, black bear, antelope, and then, of course, there are some guided hunting expeditions you could go on for things like lynx and other more exotic creatures that call this area home. Of course, if you're not a hunter, you can still take advantage of the many picnic areas, campgrounds, hiking trails. There's hundreds of them really throughout that forest area. Additionally, also within close proximity to the property, you have the Ski Cloudcroft area, roughly about 15-20 minutes east of the subject property. You also have Ruidoso up here to the north. You've got the Ruidoso Downs racetrack and casino, as well as the skiing that occurs up here. And it should also be noted that the largest body of water within the state of New Mexico is Elephant Butte Lake over here. It's roughly about a 2-hour drive from the subject property. This isn't something you could drive in a straight line east to west. It's something you kind of have to go down, up, and around to get to. But the point is, that's a good little weekend trip, roughly about 2 hours away. You can take advantage of that on the weekends, go out there boating, fishing, jet skiing, so on and so forth. But the point is, down here in southern New Mexico, there's a lot to take advantage of. And of course, you've got that great climate really all throughout the year. Now, should be noted, guys, that the subject property, if I haven't said it already, sits roughly equidistant to both Tularosa and Alamogordo. Alamogordo is the bigger of the two towns, got a population of roughly 30-some thousand, and if you zoom in on Alamogordo, what you'll see is that this is, of course, a densely packed area full of residences and businesses. So, of course, all the major big box stores like Walmart right here are very close by, as well as pretty much every fast food restaurant in the country has some sort of footprint here in Alamogordo. Additionally, of course, you've got hospitals out here, churches, schools, so on and so forth. So if you've got kids, you're going to be living out here. Maybe they're going to school in Alamogordo. Maybe they end up going to school in nearby Tularosa up here. Tularosa, of course, is a scooch closer to the subject property, but it's a little... there's a little, let's say, fewer amenities you could find up here. Obviously, you can get some groceries up here, you can get some supplies. But my guess is, particularly if you're going to be constructing anything on the land, you're probably going to be driving into nearby Alamogordo, to the nearby Lowe's or Home Depot that sits out there, etc. Anyway, so the subject property, guys, let's get to that one. This sits over here in the Sunset Acre subdivision. This is a really small subdivision of only about 50-some lots. It really occupies just all this region that you see outlined on the map here. Of course, you've got a number of people living out here, a number of home sites out here, which obviously means there's utilities. Of course, if you zoom in on the map, you can get a better sense of this. You can see the power lines that exist out here on the area, and particularly on the subject property itself. This, by the way, is the subject property right here along Sunview Drive. Should also be noted, of course, there are underground utilities in this region, and the roads themselves are a composition of easily navigated dirt gravel roads that can be navigated by any vehicle type. Now, just to give you guys a quick sense, this is on the map. You can get a sense of the plat here. This is the plat, which shows you this is basically a square lot, this roughly 2-acre square lot here off of Sunview. Or you can come over here to our listing page, scroll down. We have not only, as always, the Google Earth representation of the general footprint, size, shape, location of the property, but we also have the plat map, which will give you a little more detail into the subdivision that I was speaking of, as well as the subject property. And of course, it gives you little details like the fact you've got roughly 265 feet of road frontage here along the northern boundary of the property. Now, additionally, guys, as always, we've got photos taken from the property itself. I do, however, just want to show you, we had some photos taken of Alamogordo, downtown Alamogordo. If you're not familiar with the town, you can get a little bit of a sense here that this is a town with a, both a Western and a Spanish heritage. Of course, that it is still very prevalent within the region. It's a quaint little small town. As noted, 30-some thousand people. So, I mean, dense population, but as far as towns go, relatively small. And, of course, here's the county courthouse. Here's the county building. And there's the aforementioned Walmart. So Walmart, roughly about a 10-minute drive from the subject property. And then here's just some other sites to see. So as we get into this, these are photos from the subject property. These are the houses that are nearby to the subject property. As you can see, each one has power running to them. You can see the underground utility boxes in some of these photos. Obviously, we'll have more of that a little bit later. But also looking at these photos, you get a sense of what the neighbors live in, what you can very obviously build out there, park out there, etc. I'll get into that a little bit more in a second, but at least you get a sense of what the neighborhood is like by looking at some of the homes out there. Obviously, these are some well-kept, well-maintained homes, so it's probably, a pretty nice little region to live in. Probably got some friendly neighbors. Anyway, so this is, what is it, Sunview Road, hang on. Yeah, Sunview. So this is Sunview Road, the dirt gravel road that, as we noted, can be navigated by any vehicle type. Power lines at the subject property, and here are some of the aforementioned underground fiber optic cables, utilities that exist out here in this region. Additionally, as we go through this, you can see that this is just basically a nice, flat, buildable piece of land. It's going to be pretty easy to come out here and park or build whatever it is that you want on the subject property. Probably should not have too much difficulty with that. As we like to point out in these videos, not too steep, not too hilly, not too rocky, but just right for building. Additionally, guys, we note in the headline that this is a partially fenced property. I just want to show you right here. Your neighbor to the east, which would be this one, has fencing up along this boundary. And we don't have really great pictures of the fencing that demonstrates, oh, hey, look, it's fencing, But you can kind of get a sense of it in some of these photos that, yes, there is fencing running along this eastern boundary of the property. So the point is, when it comes to we always recommend to our buyers you should get the lot surveyed. That being said, some of them are more logical than others. I mean, this one, you know what your northern boundaries are. You're going to know what your eastern boundaries are. Your western boundaries should be pretty logical. And honestly, if you just look at where the neighbors' property lines end down here on the south, you probably really don't need to get this surveyed. But it should be pretty logical, should be pretty intuitive. But of course, if you'd like to get it surveyed, you can. But the point is that you do have that eastern fencing. So at the very least, if the neighbors over here have some critters, they got some dogs, they got some horses, whatever, they're not going to be getting into your yard. And if you plan on owning some of your own, maybe you'll want to construct some fencing right here to keep them out of this neighbor's yard. Anyway, with that said, as we go through this, you of course will see some more photos of the property. I will skip ahead, guys, just down to the drone photos here. We have, of course, some high angles of the region. Hang on, 1, 2, 3. High angle, there we go, in which you can get an even better sense of the subject property. And of course, we very helpfully outline it here. And then we do it again 18 more times, just in case you were confused about the square. So there you go. As you can see, you got some overgrowth on the land right here, and you've also got some cutout areas here. So probably not a difficult piece of land to maintain would be my guess. Anyway, guys, I will let you peruse this one on your own time. I will next get into discussing some of the covenants and restrictions that govern this area. So, first off, as noted, this is part of the Sunset Acres subdivision. It's a very small subdivision. It's got roughly 50-some lots in it. If you look at that plat, you'll see I think it's 52 lots. Up here under the property specific notes, we have a link right here to what we're defining as the light covenants in this area. Now, if you click on that link, it's going to take you here. It's going to give you this 4-page document. It's really only about 3 pages. Roughly 3 or 4-page document that enumerates the covenants and restrictions that go with this land. So I just want to be clear. Otero County is one of these counties that doesn't have county-wide zoning. Now, it doesn't mean that within its massive thousands of acres that occupy Otero County, there's no zoning. That's not what it means. But typically, in counties like this, they will defer to things like if you got a major town out here like Alamogordo, Alamogordo can make up its own zoning ordinances, and they can enforce them within their, city, within their municipality boundaries. Same thing probably with Tularosa. When you get out here into unincorporated areas of the county, those are regions where the county itself tends to defer to either 1, an HOA, or 2, the covenants and restrictions that exist. Now, this is a subdivision that has no HOA, so there's no additional annual fees besides the taxes that you'll have to pay. The taxes on this property, by the way, guys, I think are roughly about $80 annually, $80 a year. So yeah, $40 in the spring, $40 in the fall, not too bad. But the point is that the covenants and restrictions are going to be the thing that really dictate most what you can and cannot do on the property. Now, fortunately, these covenants and restrictions are pretty vague. They're pretty vague, or they're pretty light, however exactly you want to term it. If you read these, what you're going to find is that most of this is just sort of logical good neighbor stuff. I mean, number 1 is, okay, you can't subdivide it. Number 2 is you can't shoot off firearms in your backyard. All right, that seems reasonable. Number 3, don't be a nuisance. Number 4, dictate some basic things about animals, keep them fenced, things like that. The big one to read into here, guys, particularly if you're going to be living on this piece of property, is just number 8 has to do with dwellings. It has to do with what can be constructed there. Now, the first roughly 3 or 4 sentences have to do with basically just build it up to code. That's all we care about, which is, that seems reasonable. But then you get into this sentence here. So I just want to make you guys aware of this, just kind of read this. That in the event that mobile home is placed on a lot in this subdivision, the mobile home must have the axles removed and must be placed on a permanent masonry foundation. No mobile home of any size shall be placed on any lot in this subdivision except in compliance with this covenant. No such dwelling may be more than 7 years old at the time of said dwelling, yada, yada, yada. In the event a mobile home is erected, a dwelling within the provisions of this covenant, such mobile home must be skirted with professional quality skirting, so on and so forth. And then it goes on to say, and these are also important, all dwellings of said lot shall have a minimum floor area of no less than 840 square feet. So this, of course, is a good sign for anybody who's looking to build a tiny home within the region. Depending on your definition of tiny, I assume 840 fits that definition. That would say to me that you can build that out there. Now, you may want to poke around. You may want to investigate a little bit with Otero County zoning, but I really believe that the ultimate guide here is the covenants. And that being said, I doubt anybody really knows what the covenants are, even the people who live out there. So anyway, 840. Additionally, also says, No sloping ceiling, no pressure, 5 feet from finished floor. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, so those are the big things. The point is that a mobile and modular home is acceptable. A structure of 840 square feet minimum is acceptable, which tells me that if you want to do shipping container home, if you want to do something like that, as long as you are up to compliance with state building codes, you are going to be able to do that. Additionally, guys, if you read through the rest of these covenants, you're going to see that they are also what I would define as light, not too strict, very easy to deal with. So the point is, I'm not going to say there's no rules that govern this area, but there's certainly no HOA. There's not a lot of county zoning that goes into this. So it's the kind of property where you can probably do much of whatever you want. Now, of course, a lot of that, when you get into residential areas like this, where you've got this many neighbors, of course, you don't want to piss off the neighbors. It's not like they can stop you from doing certain things, but they could probably be a burden to you in some fashion. That being said, zoning out here, pretty accommodating. The covenant's pretty accommodating, and no HOA. So the point is, it opens you up to a lot more possibilities than what you'll find within the rest of the state. Anyway, guys, one thing that I do want to point out to you. So as we noted, power at the lot line, underground utilities. The one thing that I have not been able to figure out within this area of Otero County is how exactly these properties are serviced for water. Now, I'm used to, in other parts of the state, looking for water meters on the property boundary. So when I see neighboring homes like this, if I see a water meter, it gives me a good clue that, okay, there's some kind of city water that's available. I don't see that on these homes. That being said, when I see dense clusters of homes like this and I don't see a well, it tells me they're being serviced by some kind of city water. So the point is, if this is a property that you're looking at seriously, I would encourage you, this is going to be part of your due diligence. I don't suspect a well is necessary out here, but I'm not going to, tell you that you shouldn't budget for such a thing. I'm going to tell you that you should investigate this, because obviously these homes are being serviced in some way with clean drinking water, clean bathing water, etc. I just have not been able to discern which way that it is. So again, you'll have to look into that as the buyer. Now, a couple things that we have up here, guys, for the sake of research. If you are looking at this property seriously, whether you're buying from us or you're buying from anybody, there's certain pieces of due diligence, certain questions that you should ask in advance of the purchase, in advance of spending $12,000 or $12 with somebody. And those questions are usually best addressed to the local planning commission. That's kind of what the planning and zoning office is called in Otero County, though, again, they have no county-wide zoning ordinance. But reaching out to them and talking about them, just saying, hey, it's in an unincorporated area outside Alamogordo. What can you tell me about this? What do I need to know? They can answer some of those questions. Additionally, the power company that services this region is the Otero County Electric Co-op. If you click on this, it'll take you to their website. Of course, as always, you could reach out to them. You could tell them, hey, I'm looking to buy some land. You guys have already got a presence on that property. You've got some power poles out there. Is there anything I need to be aware of as far as getting hooked up to power? What is the cost? Do I need to pay for an additional pole? What is the hookup fee? These are questions you might want to ask in advance. And additionally, guys, if you do discover that you do need some kind of well out here, though I don't believe you will, the Office of the New Mexico State Engineer is the office within the state to talk to about getting either a well or water permits, well rights, water permits within the state. Their website is temporarily down right now at the time that I'm recording this video, but hello. It's up, and this is what it looks like. So, of course, you can reach out to these people and you can talk to them about getting a permit for a well out there, getting water rights for the property. Of course, if you have any questions about what realistically is it going to cost me to drill a well on a property, always best to reach out to local vendors, local well drillers. Can guide you much better on that than obviously we can, and probably even better than the state engineer's office can. So we always like to recommend that. Anyway, with all that said, guys, there's a lot to like about this property. I think it's in a great region, of course, close to two pretty major little towns out there, as well as just a lot of nice sites to see within the nearby area: White Sands, Elephant Butte Lake, Ski Apache, so on and so forth. I will have you guys know we closed on this with Pioneer Abstract and Title. That means we'll be providing you with a warranty deed on this. So if you are interested in purchasing this property, just come up here, click the Buy Now button. It will take you to a secure checkout, where we ask for a non-refundable, guys, let me say that again, non-refundable $500 earnest money deposit. This is not a financed property. This is one that we are selling for cash. We're looking for somebody who has the whole $12,000. That being said, we like to initiate these transactions with a $500 deposit, and then we will discuss with you how exactly you want to close on this property. For the record, guys, when you get into this price range, we recommend that you close through a title company. We recommend that you get title insurance, particularly if you're going to build out here and you foresee taking out a loan from a bank at some point to help with the construction of the new home. Bank is not going to lend on a property that doesn't have title insurance, so you'll want to get title insurance. So it's always good to do that when the seller is still in possession of the land, for a variety of reasons I won't get into here. Whatever the case, legal name for deed, a couple other pieces of information, tax address, where's New Mexico going to send the annual $80 tax bill, agree to the terms of service, click next, and on the very next page, we will prompt you for credit or debit card payment for that $500. Once you put down the $500, guys, we're going to contact you within 24 hours. We're going to get you a sale purchase agreement. You sign it, we submit it to the title company, and they will do the rest, albeit slowly over the next month. And for the record, guys, the other benefit for you of the title company, of course, is that they will not release your money to us until such time as the property has been deeded into your name. So you have that extra layer of security, particularly, if you're at all skeptical about doing one of these transactions on the internet, okay? Anyway, guys, if I went too fast with any of that, we got a page called How It Works, Buying From Us. If you want to learn more about the title escrow process, just come down here to Type of Closing Recommended, Title Escrow. You can read about the very easy 3-step process. You could even see a copy of one of our generic standard sale purchase agreements. One page for signatures. This is what we'll ask you to sign before we enter escrow. And again, title company won't do anything till they have a signed contract, and we don't write up a contract till we have an earnest money deposit. Things to keep in mind. Anyway, guys, if you do have any questions about the property, give us a call, 702-919-7170. Leave us a comment here on the YouTube or shoot us an email, support@hemingwayland.com. As always, guys, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it, and we will see you in the next video.